So remember those days when the Indiana Pacers were one of the best teams in basketball, led by Paul George, and they would make the Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back years but never reach the promised land, which was the NBA Finals, losing to LeBron James and the Miami Heat. After the Paul George era though, the Pacers had got stuck in this never-ending path of mediocrity, making the playoffs with guys like Domantas Sabonis, Victor Oladipo, TJ Warren. Meanwhile, every NBA fan knew that the Pacers were never going to win anything, or be anything close to a championship contending team. But in the 2020-2021 season, the Pacers had missed the playoffs for the first time since the 2014-15 season when Paul George was rehabbing off the broken leg injury. And with them missing the playoffs, the Pacers' time was officially ticking, and ticking fast, because in the beginning of this past season, they had brung back a similar team as before, but with a new head coach, bringing in former Mavs head coach Rick Carlisle. And let's just say, it did not go well, because the Pacers' record all the way up until the trade deadline was 19-37 and one of the worst records in the Eastern Conference. And it was clear that frustration was starting to pour over, as Domantas Sabonis, the Pacers star at the time, reportedly was getting frustrated. He had even axed out, and Miles Turner was getting thrown in a lot of trade rumors up until this point as well. And it was well known around the league that the Pacers front office was putting a lot of their more talented players on the trade block. And on the day of the trade deadline, the Pacers finally decided to pick a direction and get out of the path of mediocrity by trading Domantas Sabonis in a shocking move to Sacramento for rising star guard Tyrese Halliburton. And to be honest, when this move went down, I was shocked. And I love the trade for Indiana because I'm a big Halliburton fan. He's going to be really good. He's already shown you that he can be really good. He can do so much on the floor: score, play make, defend. He's got that perfect frame for the modern day point guard at 6'6" with a super long wingspan. And he can play both guard positions. So whatever you want him to do, if you want him to play off the ball, he can do that. If you want him to run the show, he can do that also. And during his games with the Pacers this season, he showed that he can run the team. He did really well. Now, did the record show that he was doing well? No, because the talent on the floor is not great compared to other NBA teams. But his stats showed that he was doing pretty solid. He averaged 17.5 points per game with 9.6 assists per night, while shooting super efficient, almost 50-40 and almost 90 from the free throw line during his time in Indiana in the second half of the season. And now with him being a big building block for the Indiana Pacers rebuild, we can now look at the rest of the roster, because going into the 2022-2023 season, they have some nice underrated young talent. You have guys like Bennedict Mathurin, who was selected 6th overall in the NBA draft, has major potential to be an elite scoring wing in the NBA, and fits really well with this young roster. Then you have former lottery pick from last year in Chris Duarte, who averaged 13 points per game and showed a good scoring instinct. He would be better if he became a little more of a secondary playmaker for this team, because he does have the tendency to take some wild shots. But I still like Chris Duarte's game a lot, and I want to see if he can take it to another level this upcoming season. And another key player that I like that Indiana got is Jalen Smith, because he is also another former lottery pick back in 2020. Phoenix has selected him, but he never really got the opportunity to show what he can do in Phoenix. And when he got to Indiana, he showed what his potential could look like, as he averaged 13 points per game, nearly 8 boards a night, and showed the ability to run the floor and stretch the floor, shooting 37% from 3 on nearly 4 attempts a game from deep for the Pacers this season. And these are just the key players to the Pacers roster, but there's also more players that could potentially improve next season as well. Adding on to all the Pacers depth and all they got a ton of cap space as well. You know, they got cap space to get more talent on the roster that can help, and even if they can't get a young good player, like for example DeAndre Ayton, who's currently a restricted free agent and is a possible Pacers target, we'll see what happens, but very possible they can get him. But if they can't, then Indiana still has basically all of their draft picks to develop through the draft, like other NBA teams that have gotten good by doing this method throughout the years, especially if you're a small market team like the Pacers are. We shall see what happens for the future of the Pacers franchise, but right now the Pacers are off to a good start in their rebuild, and have some really good young pieces to start all over again with them being probably one of the more underrated rebuilding teams in the NBA. As we right now talk a lot about the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons and the Oklahoma City Thunder along with the Houston Rockets. But the Indiana Pacers are not that far off from being on their level in the rebuild. It just might take a little more time, but right now I love the direction the Pacers are going in. It's about time that they got away from being just this mediocre 4th seed, 5th seed, 6th seed kind of team, because they were basically that from 2018, even though 2018 they were the 5th seed, but you knew they were never going to win. That was the problem. 2018 all the way to the bubble, they were never really going to do anything. So I love the fact that they picked the direction that they're in and are finally a rebuilding team with some good building blocks for the future, so that one day they can become that contending team that they were back in 2013 and 2014 with Paul George leading the way. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Link will be down in the description below. This has been a checkup where we talk hoops and hoops only, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.